What is going on, YouTube? And welcome back to my channel, JoJo Speaks. Thank y'all so much for joining us this evening. This being our review for 90 Day Fiance, The Last Resort. And this is going to be season 2 and episode 13, I believe. Is it? Yes, episode 13.
13.
I got my main man, Dustin, back with me. What's going on, Dustin? How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I do want to do a major shout out to Jonathan for wishing me a happy birthday while he was on vacation. So thank you for very much for always being there as well. Even though you was on vacation, you was there for me as you always are. So thank you very much.
You're very
Thank you
welcome,
very much.
Dustin. Yes. I was out of town for celebrating my mother's birthday. My mother's birthday is technically the 29th of February. However, there was no 29th of February. This year was not a leap year, but we spent the weekend. We spent the weekend in Myrtle Beach. Although we were at the beach, it was cold in Myrtle Beach, y'all. But we still had a good time, had really nice accommodations. Hey, Lady Virgo, I see Lady Virgo down in the comments. So glad
Hey,
that
Lady
you're
Virgo.
here. Thank you so much for joining us, girl. Um,
Yes.
so I had a really good time. And I literally, when I tell you, I literally just walked into the door. I literally just walked into the door. So I am ready to get into this review. I thought that this was an excellent episode, mainly because we got one couple who really didn't need to be there whatsoever that ended up leaving. But
Yes.
we'll get to that in a moment. But we start out with Darcy and Rob, and they are on the bike. They're on the exercise bike, and they're getting their, exercise on. Of course, I was happy to see a little bit of Rob's case. You know what I'm saying? Now, I mean, they were spoken out a little bit. Now, I mean, and initially he thought that that was Stacy, but
Yes.
does not surprise me whatsoever because Darcy and Stacy are identical twins, and they do look just alike. It's almost like they've had the same exact surgery on their faces and on their bodies and all that good stuff. They look exactly alike. I don't know if they were standing together in the same exact outfit, if I would be able to tell the two apart. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and so Rob was having that issue as well, but they were having a little bit of conversation, talking about the fact that Sophie brought up his supposed cheating on Sophie, and surprisingly, in this episode, we did not see Rob and Sophie together, and we haven't seen them together since Sophie brought up that issue that she found out about while they were on that camping trip. But then we see Darcy waking up the night after her blow up with no, we see Stacy waking up next to Florian, and she's still in the same dress that she had on the night before. She's hungover. She said it's been a while since she's had a drink, and so
Yes.
she needs some hangover food, and she wanted an empanada, but they ain't got no empanadas, so Florian just ended up getting her a croissant. But it turns
Yes.
out that she did actually ask Darcy if she was trying to sleep with her man, and it's like I don't know how I feel about that.
Uh-uh.
But it is what it is.
Uh,
So what did you think of the of seeing Rob and Darcy kind of doing a little bit of a workout together, and then seeing the aftermath of Stacy waking up the night after her whole blow up with Darcy?
I didn't need to see that part. Um, I didn't need to see Stacy waking up after her little mishap. That was a little bit too much for me, Jonathan. To be totally honest with you, that was a little bit that I could have not I could have unseen that. I seen it, after I got done with it, it was gone. I could have unseen that her being in bed, hungover, being being drunk after her party that she had. I didn't even see that part,
Mhm.
but I did like when they were I did like when Darcy and Rob were together because that shows me support. Uh, they're supporting
Right.
all of the couples in this retreat, so I do appreciate the support, even though it's hard to um, see them going through this. They are supporting one another, and that's what I like to see, Jonathan. I love to see this. I love to see the support for one another. For one another.
Yes, I love seeing that as well. I love seeing Rob. Anytime that Rob is not arguing with Sophie, I see that as Rob being in his element. He's so charming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't even have to try to be charming because he's just such a beautiful man. And I love seeing him interacting with Darcy. And there was no flirtation going on. I'm glad that I didn't see that because both of them are married
Right.
people. And then Josh comes to join them, and gets on a
Mm-hmm.
bike, and he's sort of kind of complaining about Natalie, and then
Right.
Natalie shows up out of nowhere. And
Mm-hmm.
this is the time, even though I'm not trying to give Josh a pass for his behavior. He is still
Right.
very egotistical. He's very self involved. He's very much wanting to see himself in a mirror. He wants to be the star of the show. However, when Natalie comes up and then she starts complaining about Josh as if Josh is not even on the other side of Rob, and saying, "Oh, he's body shaming me." She clearly, Josh actually apologized to her for her thinking that he was body shaming her by saying that he does not want to sleep in the same bed with her, or he does not want
Uh-uh.
to be touched while he is sleeping. But she does not want
Uh-uh.
to let go of this. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
starting to understand why Josh may not want to be around Natalie, because Natalie seems to kind of be a nag, and a little bit annoying, to be honest.
Yes.
I kind of understand why he may not want to be with
With
Natalie. What
Natalie.
was your
Mm-hmm.
reaction to Natalie just coming out of nowhere and kind of complaining about Josh in the presence of Darcy and Rob, and still not letting go of this whole body shaming thing? What are your thoughts?
Natalie's never going to let go of that. And she's never going to let go of it. She's going to drag it to the mud, Jonathan. She's going to drag it
No.
till the end of this, and we're going to see that the rest of this season. She's going to drag it as far as she can
Hmm.
drag it. She's a person of she's a person that can hold a grudge, and she's going to hold a grudge as far as she can take it. I don't. I'm not gonna sit there and say I don't hold a grudge, but I don't like to hold grudges on anybody. Uh, I have enough stuff I'm going through right
Right.
now, so I don't. It's like you don't have to hold a grudge for forever, Natalie. You move on. You move on. Life moves on, Natalie, and I don't like to hold a grudge on anybody. So, like somebody like me, I like to take care of the situation. Jonathan, if I have a situation with somebody, I go to the person that I have the situation with, take care of it. And if they're not ready to take care of it, then you know what, you just move forward. And I think Natalie needs to move forward without Josh. That's my opinion. She needs to move forward without Josh, but she's gonna hold a grudge as far as she can hold it.
I have to agree with that, Dustin. Natalie and Josh have no business being together whatsoever. Josh clearly
Nope.
does not want to spend any time with Natalie or even be in her presence because she's annoying to him. And I would have to agree with that. Seeing her behavior just on this one episode, because I really haven't seen too many shades of it in previous episodes. And I still need to go through and watch episodes 1 through, I think, 9 or 10, to kind of
Mm,
get a better feel of the couples in general.
mm,
But Natalie is nagging him, and
right.
it's almost as if she has a little bit of the ego that Josh has, but hers is more personal. Is that she wants more of attention on her, and when she
Mm,
wants attention on her, and Josh wants all the attention on him, no one's going to be happy in this relationship.
nope.
And I'm so glad that Rob kind of understands the fact that the way Natalie is taking this whole body shaming thing, she's misunderstanding what he's saying. And I do
Mm.
think it's a little bit of a language barrier in a way,
I don't I
because
don't think I don't think that she wants to I don't think that she wants to get the help that she needs. This is supposed to be about therapy, and I don't think that she's wanting to get the therapy, because if she was wanting to get the therapy, we would have seen progress by now. And I haven't seen it. I haven't seen an inch of progress in this episode with Natalie and Josh.
and
That's just me, but I haven't seen a lot of progress made at all
and
between.
the issue
Mhm.
is, I don't know if either one of them really want to work on their relationship and make things better between them, which is just a sad thing altogether. But if you're not meant to be, you're just not meant to be. So
Right.
there's that. But then we're going to get to my favorite part of this particular episode, and that is between
Ari and
Benny
Birmingham.
and
Yep. Mhm.
Ari. They
Yep.
have this sit down with the two therapists, and Ari will not let go of this whole infidelity thing, and him not admitting to cheating on her. and Benny's just sticking to his guns, as I would hope that he would. I do love Benny in that effect.
Mhm.
And he just says, I checked out of this relationship a long time ago. Feeling wise, romantic wise, there's nothing there for us anymore. And so then the therapist say, well, does
Mm,
this mean you guys are just going to go your separate ways? And Ari is clearly not getting the satisfaction of Benny admitting to any type of infidelity, or even really addressing it in any way, shape, or form. He's hardly even said that he hasn't even done it. He's just sort of kind of ignoring the fact that she's bringing this fact up almost every chance that she gets. But Ari
yeah.
seems to be, unhappy with the fact that she's not getting any satisfaction or gratification out of this whole storyline that she's trying to push. And so Benny allows Ari to be the one to say, we need to go our separate ways and we need to go ahead and get a divorce. I'm so happy that they've come to this conclusion and made this decision, because I would not be happy with seeing another couple of episodes of these two going at it, or mainly Ari going at Benny and trying to make him look like a bad guy, and
Me
try to make
neither.
him look like a cheater, because
Uh-uh.
if I don't know whether he's done it or not. I choose not to believe that he has done it.
I don't think.
Now it would not
I honest.
surprise me if
Mm,
Benny might have moved on. Maybe he might be in communication with someone else. That wouldn't surprise me at all. But I'm so glad that they made this decision to
mhm.
have a divorce, and the therapist tell them that they can go ahead and leave the premises. Dustin, what was your thoughts on this whole thing going
Well,
going down between
I
Benny
want to
and
give my
Ari?
flowers to Ari and Benny, because that takes a lot of oomph for them to realize that it's not gonna work this way. Yeah, it takes a lot of respect for both of them uh to to go their separate ways. They tried their hardest in this. To me, they tried their hardest in this episode, or they tried their hardest in this season, and I think they realize that they're not the best together, and the best thing for them to do is to continue to co-parent their son apart, because I just don't think it's not going to be the best thing for them to stay together, and I'm so happy that they made that decision to cut their ties. Hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how hard they've been working to try to get their relationship into a better place, because this entire season, all I've been hearing is Ari saying, Benny's been cheating on me, Benny's been cheating on me, Benny's been
Well,
cheating on
I'm
me.
sorry.
And then
Yeah, I know.
Benny,
Yeah.
kind of saying, she's crazy, that's not happening. Benny's just been on vacation. Benny, I haven't seen really any work between them. But you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I'm so glad that they've come to this conclusion that they have no business being here with these
Right.
other couples who are actually putting
Correct.
in effort and work to work on their marriages. And I'm just glad. And I would love to see Benny on another season, maybe with another woman,
I
maybe a
would
woman
too.
that treats him better, and
Mhm.
appreciates him for who he is.
Correct.
But I'm glad that Ari has given up the fight. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that Ari has given up the fight. She's understood that Benny's not going to give into this whole thing of him cheating on her. And she understands that she's not going to get it out of him. And I'm so glad that she understands that. She was crying a little bit in the car, and she's disappointed in herself for being in this relationship to begin with, which I understand. To me, they just never seemed like a couple to begin with. But that's just
Mm-mm.
me. And I really don't understand how they got to the point to where they got married.
they wasn't meant to be together from the beginning, Jonathan. I will say that, because but they just wasn't a good they just wasn't a good pair together. Uh, it wasn't a good situation on either one of their sides. But I hope that she learned from her mistakes, and I hope she finds somebody else that makes her happy.
And the gift and curse of it all is that, they have a child together. The curse being that they'll be tied to one another for the rest of their lives. But the gift
Yeah.
is the actual child itself. They have a son, who is a couple of years old. And, he's a
Correct.
precious little boy. And we saw him on, I think it was episode 12 or 11, if I'm not mistaken. She was doing a FaceTime with him. He's
Mhm.
such a cute little boy. So, I'm
Right.
glad that they've come to this conclusion. So then we get Jasmine. She's having a one-on-one conversation with the sex therapist. And the sex
Mhm.
therapist brings up this whole ethical non monogamy part of this situation, which is
Therapy.
basically an open marriage. An open marriage meaning that it's ethical because both parties involved are okay with both parties stepping outside of their marriage for sexual gratification. Um,
Right.
Now, of course, I don't think that Gino is going to agree to this whatsoever. Although the
Yeah.
therapist does say that she is in an ethical non non-monogamical.
Non-monogamous. I can't say the word.
It's a tongue twister, Justin.
I can't
Non-monogamical,
say it either.
whatever the case might be, non-monogamy. She's in that type of marriage. She's been in that type of marriage for 9 years, and
Right.
um, and it works for her. But Gino's not interested in this at all, no matter what you call it, whether it's ethical non-monogamy or an open marriage. Gino ain't down for it. But my thing is, Gino, you know your wife is yearning for your touch. You know your wife is yearning for intimacy and yearning for relations, but he just refuses to give it to her. And like I said in a previous review, I do think that gives Gino some sense of control over Jasmine. If he can control her by withholding sex from her, then he has some type of control over her. And I think Gino also knows that Jasmine is not going to leave him. Because
Right.
Dustin, I really don't see any scenario where Jasmine would leave Gino, even if
I
he
don't either.
doesn't have sex with her. I still think that Jasmine will stay with him. But what do you think is going to be Gino's reaction to maybe in a future episode, a therapist bringing up this possibility of them
Well,
trying this
let me
whole
tell you.
ethical non-monogamy?
Let me tell you. Did you see the preview for the next week?
I did see the preview. Yes.
He said that was cheating. He
Yeah.
told Jasmine. He told Jasmine that. No, that's not cheating. She just wants to be happy. And to me, she's not happy with you. She's not. She's not. She can't tell. She can't tell him how she feels because he just shuts it down. And I don't think that.
Hmm.
Yes, I don't think that. No, but I don't think there's nothing that ever can tear them apart. But I don't think that she's. I don't know how much longer she's willing to be unhappy. Because if you ask me, I think she's unhappy with him. Hmm.
Yeah, she definitely is unhappy with him, and I don't know what it would take for Jasmine to leave Gino because I do not see them. You know, Gino said in the previous episode, in episode 12, that they would have to be getting along and on good terms for 6 months straight before he would
Hmm.
even entertain being intimate with Jasmine. And I don't see
Correct.
that happening, especially with a woman like Jasmine, who, even
Hmm.
if Gino does do things right, I don't know if Jasmine won't find something to argue with him about. But again, she's going to argue with him about him not having sex with her. And to be honest, if this is going to be the way that is going to be between them, the fact that Jasmine wants an open marriage and Gino does not, and Gino
Hmm.
refuses to be intimate with Jasmine, then they should just separate. They should just not be
Right.
together whatsoever. I think that that's what they need to do. They need to no longer be together. Jasmine needs to go back to Panama, maybe call up that Matt guy who she met at the gym that she was talking about in the previous episode and do
Yeah.
something, because Gino, and I really want for Gino to explain to Jasmine the way he explained to Florian how this is going to work. We have to be on good terms for
Oh my
6 months
lord.
or we have intimacy.
Right.
And I want to see what Jasmine's reaction is going to be to that. And maybe at that point, Jasmine can make the decision as to whether she's going to stay with Gino or not. How do you think that conversation would go between those two, Dustin?
I don't think it would go too well.
Me
To be honest,
either.
I don't think it would go well at all. Um, I just don't feel like that. I don't think that Gino or Jasmine is ready to have that conversation.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think either one of them are ready to move on. I don't think either one of them are ready to say how they actually feel. I don't understand why they're even on this show, to be honest, because I don't think they got anywhere. I don't think they have got anywhere at all. No.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where things go between these two from here.
Yes.
But let's get into the final part of this particular episode. I will have to mention that Ari ends up leaving before Benny does. Ari does not say goodbye to anyone, which I found very interesting
Rude.
because that
Mhm.
showed me that Ari was not interested in this process, because if she really was interested in this process, she would have wanted to
Mhm.
say bye to someone. But I really haven't seen Ari interacting with any of the other couples. I've
Well,
seen Benny interacting with the other couples, and that's why Benny was the one who was actually saying goodbye to everyone and telling everyone that he loved them and all this
I
good
don't
stuff, which, yeah,
I don't think that Ari wanted to do this show.
no.
I think the reason why that they were on it is because of Benny, because Benny's the one that signed the contract. But I
I
don't think
think go
but I
ahead,
don't
Dustin.
but I don't think she wanted to be a part of this show. I really don't.
I think Ari came to this show with a mission to make Benny look bad. And because she didn't get what she wanted, she's just going to go away real salty. And hey, you want to
Mhm.
do that? Go on ahead, Ari. Goodbye. I'm glad that
Yeah.
you're leaving, because I don't want to see
Yeah.
you on the show anymore. But we end the show with Brandon and Julia. They're having a family therapy session with Brandon's parents, and we get
Mhm.
to the fact that that Julia does not feel accepted by Brandon's parents, and that Brandon's
Uh,
parents are always coddling him. And that's what I got from this particular therapy session, that Brandon seems to have been protected by his parents and really maybe hasn't been exposed to too many things outside of his parents' presence. And um, it's really interesting to see the dynamic between Brandon, his parents, and Julia. Julia does not feel
yes.
like his parents actually like her. She feels as though she's in competition with Brandon's mother. And when you get married, I won't say that this is the case for everyone, but in my opinion, when you get married, if it's a heterosexual marriage, that is, I do, well, any type of marriage, I feel like your spouse does come before your parents, or should come before your parents. But people have different opinions
Same
about
way with
that.
me,
But
Jonathan.
that's the
Same way
way
with
that
me.
Julia feels that I'm your number one girl. Your mother's not your number one girl anymore. I became your number one girl when you walked down the aisle and you married me. And
Mhm.
Brandon doesn't see it that way, and I don't see Brandon telling his mother, Mom, Julia's my wife, she comes first. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? She has to come first. Julia has to
Yes.
come first in this marriage. But Brandon doesn't see it that way. And that is a really big issue between Brandon and Julia. And I don't know that they will be able to get to a place, because Brandon seems to have been, it looks to me as though Brandon might have been spoiled by his parents, and maybe
Right.
they've been holding his hand throughout a majority of his life. And therefore, when Julia brings up things like her, quote, cheating on him, kissing her ex-boyfriend, and also the fact that she put in for a visa for her mother to come over to the States. And the reason why she did not tell Brandon this, because she actually sprung this information up on Brandon during this family therapy session, and Brandon automatically gets all pissed off and walks off. And Brandon's parents are happy about this fact, but Brandon does not like this, because he doesn't want Julia's mother to come over to the States. Now, don't have the backstory about, Julia's mother and Brandon, but apparently there's some bad blood there. Do you have any information
Yes.
on that, Dustin?
Well, I seen it in the regular 90 Day Fiance show when they first
Okay.
started it. When they started out on the regular show, as everybody else does, and I could see that there was tension in the relationship with Julia's parents. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it still is, but I could tell that there was tension between Brandon and Julia's parents. Uh, but I don't know what it was because they didn't really talk about it, but I could tell there was
Right.
tension there.
But I do love the fact that Julia was sticking to her guns and saying, Brandon, you have your parents with you. You have your support system. All Julia has is Brandon, and Brandon is her only support system. So I think it's only fair that, she brings some of her family over to the States. And,
Mm,
and the fact that Brandon does not want this. Again, I understand that Brandon doesn't necessarily have a good relationship with Julia's parents, but Julia doesn't have a good relationship with Brandon's parents, and she has to put up with it. So, Brandon, why are you not willing to give in a little bit and allow Julia to have a little piece of home with her? I think that is, I
well,
don't think
let me.
that's fair to Julia.
Mhm.
And I think that, maybe that might be another reason why Julia is having second thoughts about having a child with Brandon. I wouldn't want to have a
Well,
child with a man who doesn't want my mother to be in
no.
his presence. I
Let
think
me
that's disrespectful.
Let me ask you this, Jonathan. Do you think that this is going to end up in a divorce? Because honestly, I'm starting to feel that way. I'm starting to feel like there's no rekindling, uh, no rekindling there. I don't think there's going to be any change in this couple uh thing here, Jonathan. And I feel like it's going to a divorce.
I don't think I can say definitively whether they will get divorced or not. However, I think they should get a
Hmm.
divorce because hey Robin, I see Robin down there in the
Hey, Robin.
comments. Hey Robin, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah.
Because there's a lack of respect between Brandon and Julia. And I don't know if they realize that or not.
Hmm.
And just the fact that Brandon feels as though it's okay for him to run off every time Julia tells him something that he's not that he doesn't like. You can't run away from all of your problems. And he's sort of kind of giving me Libra vibes a little bit because we don't like confrontation at all, and we don't like to have those tough conversations either. But we as adults, we have to go through those types of things and we have to deal with those types of things. But
Yes.
Brandon
Hmm.
does not seem to be mature to me. And
He's
I
definitely not
think him
mature.
walking off every time that Julius tells him something that he doesn't like is a sign of immaturity. And I
Hmm.
cannot respect that. And Brandon is
Nope.
kind of turning me off more and more as we get through these episodes that Brandon does not want to face reality, the reality of who he married. Um,
Correct.
and it's like, I would really like to see how is it that they actually ended up coming together. Because I don't know if I don't know if any woman would be good enough for Brandon, to be honest. In Brandon's eyes, that is.
Mhm.
That's not
No,
to
I
say
think the
that
only
Brandon is
I,
is God's gift to women, but
I think
I
the only
don't know. I don't know.
I think the only person that would be perfect in Brandon's life will be the mother and the father. And I don't care if it's Julia or somebody else. I think he would do the same thing that he's doing to Julia to the other person.
I'd agree with that as well. And that's why I said I don't know if there will be any woman that would be good enough for Brandon, maybe in his parents' eyes. His parents seem to be very sweet people, but they seem
Right.
to be very sweet people on a television show. We don't know how they're acting outside of the television show. And I
Nope.
tend to believe Julia when she says that, Brandon's mother seems to be in competition with her, because that is a very old tale when it comes to mothers and daughters-in-law. That there seems to be competition in some of those relationships. I won't say most or
Mhm.
all, but in
Mhm.
sometimes mothers
Yes.
and daughters-in-law will sometimes not get along, and that's very sad. That's extremely sad. But that's because a lot of times mothers are very attached to their
Mm,
sons, and
right.
their sons are their babies, their baby boys, and they don't want to let them go. And I get that, but once your son gets married, you got to let them go. You got to let them go and grow up. And it seems like they don't want for Brandon to grow up, and I think that that is very sad. And I
Right.
would hope that Brandon would get to a point to where he can see things from Julia's side, because Brandon is acting like Josh a little bit in this case, where everything's got to work in Brandon's favor. As long as Brandon is okay, then the relationship is okay, not
Mhm.
considering what Julia's feelings may be in the scenario or in the situation. And I think that's extremely disrespectful. And very unkind to Julia, because Julia is in
Mhm.
this relationship too.
Yes.
So I don't know if this therapy would get Brandon and Julia in a better place. However, I would not expect for them to break up by the end of this season.
So,
I think they will
uh,
try to work it out.
okay. All right. I just didn't know if it because I felt like they're falling apart as
That
more we see them. I think they're falling apart.
Yeah,
Uh,
that is what it looks like. It looks like they wouldn't make it, but I don't know. We will see. Hold on, let me
yeah,
get this
we will
comment from
see.
Robin up here, y'all, and then we're going to get on out of here. So Robin says their origin story is they met online. He went to her country. They fell in love. Brandon's parents went abroad to meet her. When Julia came to the United States, lived in family farm. Oh, okay, all right. Thank you so much
Yeah. And
for
they
that
both
information,
and
Robin. I
they and
appreciate
and
that.
and they also lived in the same place for a while too, as well. Uh,
Okay.
Jonathan.
Okay.
Hmm.
So, we'll see where it goes from here. But Yes, I'm of course, I'm always loving to see Rob and Florian on this show. Rob and Florian are my two favorite men on this show. And although Florian and Josh look a whole lot alike, I just like Florian so much more because he's not so self-involved and he's not so obsessed with himself. He considers others in situations. And I love people. I love people who love other people. So anyways, and then Lady Virgo's got a comment here. Hold on, let me get this
Hey, Lady
comment from Lady Virgo up here. And then we will let y'all go. So Lady Virgo says down in the comments, but you also got to realize most boys grow up to be mama's boys. Me in particular, I am a mama's boy, Lady Virgo. Even when they find a girlfriend, or wife. Yes, that is very true, Lady Virgo. When mothers are very attached to their sons, a lot of times those sons are very attached to their mothers as well. So it's got to be a mutual thing where they kind of let go of the reins a little bit. But again, I don't see that happening between Brandon and his mother. Like once that relationship has been established, it's very hard to separate yourself. Brandon is extremely attached to his mother, and I don't know if there's a way for him to detach from her. That's not to say to totally ignore her and ignore her existence or anything of that nature, but he's got to give some attention to his wife. His wife is there, and his wife is supposed to give him some of that support, and his wife is supposed to be there for him. So
yeah,
there's that. Robin says down here in the comments, they didn't share a room on the farm. Brandon's parents planned the wedding at their church. Wow. Family expected Julia to work on the farm. Wow. That is very interesting, Robin. Thank you so much for this information, Robin. I appreciate it. You are HR on the job, girl. So I feel so bad for Julia. I feel so bad for Julia. And I'm now beginning to understand why Julia is not interested in having Brandon's children, because once she has Brandon's children, she is attached to Brandon's family.
She's stuck with him
forever. And
right.
I personally would not want that at all. If it was me, I would not want to be attached to Brandon's family like that, because they are thick as thieves. And, it's like, that's how families should be. But they're not letting Julia in. They're not letting Julia be a part of the family. She's just there because she's Brandon's wife, but they're not including her in anything. And I think that's just sad. Robin says down in the comments, she did not fancy working. She did not fancy working the farm. Resisted. That makes complete sense, Robin, because I probably would have resisted too, working on the farm when they're trying to force me to do something that I'm not interested in doing. I'm checking out, period, point blank. But yes, that is our review for season 2, episode 13 of 90 Day Fiance, The Last Resort. Dustin, why don't you go ahead and give us your social medias? But first, we got to say hey to Mamir. Thank you so much for being here, Mamir. So glad to see you, girl, and your cat.
So glad to see you. My social media is Dustin Butler. My Instagram is Dustin Butler 700. And I want to thank Jennifer for always being there for me, as always. And I love you very much.
You're very welcome, Dustin. You guys can follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is JoJo_speaks3020. My Facebook is Jonathan Lee. My email is williamjonathanlee@gmail.com. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel. Press that big red subscribe button. It is free and easy to do. It takes less than a second to mash that button. So why don't you go ahead and mash it? Also, be sure to give us a thumbs up on this video. Let us know you're enjoying the content that I'm putting out on my channel. Be sure to leave a comment. Let us know your thoughts on the couples that we're discussing here on 90 Day Fiance, The Last Resort. Be sure to press the notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. Last but not least, be sure to share JoJo Speaks with all your family, friends, and loved ones. Let everybody know that JoJo Speaks is out here in these YouTube streets. Thank y'all so much for joining us for this review. Robin, Lady Virgo, and Mamir, thank y'all so much for being down there in the comments. I love our interactions together for these videos, and that's why we do it. Thank you guys so much for being here. Join me on Thursday at 8 p.m. for my Hot Topics and Social Commentary. It's going to be a great show. Hope you guys have a wonderful week, and make sure you join us next Monday, same time, same place, same beautiful faces. Until then, we'll say bye for now, y'all. Y'all have a wonderful week and stay warm out there, because I think it might be getting cold again. Love y'all for watching. Take care, y'all.